Hey, so I hope you can hear me. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock out maybe about 2 hours of reading. It'll be chapter one and chapter two. I read this last night, but I thought I was recording the space. Matter of fact, let me make sure I'm recording this time again. Hold on. So I don't think it's recording. So I think I'm gonna have to do this all over again, but hold on, let me check. Oh no, it is. Okay. My fault. So basically, I forgot to record last night. So I'm going to be rereading the chapter one and two tonight. And of course, this is Assata Shakur, an autobiography. And excuse my voice, it's going to go in and out because I still got COVID. And this is like day 8 or 9. I lost track. So I'll be taking plenty of breaks to like drink tea in between. So it starts off with an affirmation. I believe in living. I believe in the spectrum of beta days and gamma people. I believe in sunshine and windmills and waterfalls, tricycles and rocking chairs. I believe that seeds grow into sprouts and sprouts grow into trees. I believe in the magic of the hands and in the wisdom of the eyes. I believe in rain and tears and in the blood of infinity. I believe in life, and I've seen death parade march through the torso of the earth, sculpting mud bodies in its path. I've seen the destruction of the daylight and seen bloodthirsty maggots pray to and salute it. I've seen the kind become the blind and the blind become the bind in one easy lesson. I have walked on cut glass. I have eaten crow and blundered bread and breathed the stench of indifference. I have been locked by the lawless, handcuffed by the haters, gagged by the greedy, and if I know anything at all, it's that a wall is just a wall and nothing more at all. It can be broken down. I believe in living. I believe in birth. I believe in the sweet or the sweat of love and in the fire of truth. And I believe that a lost ship, steered by tired, seasick sailors, can still be guided home to port. And that's the end of that affirmation. And we're going to jump right into chapter one. Here were lights and sirens. Zaid was dead. My mind knew that Zaid was dead. The air was like cold glass. Huge bubbles rose and burst. Each one felt like an explosion in my chest. My mouth tasted like blood and dirt. The car spun around me, and then something like sleep took over. In the background, I could hear what sounded like gunfire, but I was fading and dreaming. Suddenly, the door flew open, and I felt myself being dragged into the pavement, pushed and punched, a foot upside my head, a kick in my stomach. Police were everywhere. One had a gun to my head. Which way did they go? He was shouting. Bitch, you better open your goddamn mouth or I'll blow your goddamn head off. I nodded my head across the highway. I was sure that nobody had gone that way. A few of the cops were off and running. One pig said, "We ought to finish her off." But the others were all busy around the car searching it. They were pulling and prodding. "You find the gun?" They kept asking each other. Later, one of them asked another, "Should we put her in the car?" "Nah, let her lay in the gutter where she belongs. Just get her out the way." I felt myself being dragged by the feet across the pavement. My chest was on fire. My blouse was purple with blood. I was convinced that my arm had been shot off and was hanging inside my shirt by a few stretch of flesh. I could not feel it. Finally, the ambulance came and they moved me into it. Being moved was agony, but the blankets were worth it. I was so cold. The medics examined me. I tried to talk, but only bubbles came out. I was foaming at the mouth. Where she hit, they asked each other as if I wasn't there. They concluded their examination. I was relieved. "Let's move it," one of them said. "Okay, but wait a minute," said the driver, and he got out. "Hit twice," I heard him say. "We gotta wait." The driver slammed the door. He said something else, but I didn't understand it. Time passed. I was floating off again. It felt so weird, like a dream, a nightmare. More time passed. It seemed like forever. I was in and out, in and out. A rough voice asked, "Is she dead yet?" I floated off again. I heard another voice, "Is she dead yet?" I wondered how long the ambulance had been sitting there. The attendants looked nervous. The bubbles in my chest felt like they were growing bigger. When they burst, my whole chest shattered. I faded again, and it was down south in the summertime. I thought about my grandmother. At last, the ambulance was moving. If I live, I remember thinking, I'll only have one arm. The hospital is glaring white. Everybody I see is white. Everyone seems to be waiting. All at once, they are in motion. Blood pressure, pulse, needles, etc. Two detectives come in. I know they're detectives because they look like detectives. One of them has a face like a bulldog with jowls hanging down the sides. They supervise the nurse as she cuts off my clothes. After a while, one of them dabs my fingertips with what looks like Q-tips. Later, I find out that this is the neutron activation test to determine whether or not I have fired a weapon. Another one then tries to fingerprint me, but he has trouble because my hand is dead. "Give me the dead man's kit." He puts my fingers into spoon-looking things used to fingerprint dead people. They begin to ask me questions, but a bunch of doctors come in. One of them, who appears to be the head doctor, examines me. He pokes and prods, throwing me around like a rag doll. Then, like he's going to kill me, he jerks me around so that I'm on my stomach. The pain is like an electric shock, and I moan. "Don't cry now, girlie," he says. "Why'd you shoot the trooper? Why'd you shoot the trooper?" I want to kick him in his face. I know he would kill me if he had the chance. I can see the scalpel slipping. One of the other doctors says something about calling the operating room. Hell no, is all I can think of. Hell no. After a while, they all leave. Then a black nurse comes into the room. I'm glad as I could be to see her. She bends over me. "What's your name?" she asks. "What is your name?" I think about it and decide to say nothing. If I tell them my name, they will know who I am, and they will kill me for sure. "What is your name?" she keeps asking, enunciating each syllable in the way that people talk to someone who has trouble hearing or understanding. "What is your name? What is your address? Where do you live?" Her voice is getting louder. "We need your signature, miss," she says, waving a piece of paper in front of me. "We need your permission for treatment in case we have to operate." She repeats the same thing over and over. "Who shall we contact in case of emergency?" I think that's kind of funny. "What is your name? Where do you live?" I close my eyes, wishing she would go away. She keeps right on talking. I drift off, thinking about my arm. It is still there. "Nerve damage, paralyzed," I heard them say. It has never occurred to me. It isn't that bad, I remember thinking. I can live with that if I have to. More voices, other voices, grating my ears and my consciousness. "She can talk," one is saying. "The doctor says she can talk." "Where were you going? What is your name? Where were you coming from? Who was in the car with you? How many of you were there?" I know she can hear me. I keep my eyes closed. One of them leans down real close to me. I can feel his breath on my cheek and smell it. "I know you can hear me. I know you can talk, and if you don't hurry up and start talking, I'm going to bash your face in for you." My eyes flew open in spite of myself. Immediately, they were all in my face, throwing question after question at me. I say nothing. After a while, I close my eyes again. "Oh, she doesn't feel good," one of them says in a sweet, mocking voice. "Where does it hurt? Here? Here? Here?" With each here comes a crash. I look around wildly, but no one is there. More thumps and punches, but none of them hurts as bad as my chest is hurting. I try to scream, but I know immediately that that's a mistake. My chest erupts and I think I'm going to die. They go on, questions and bangs. I think they'll never stop. A woman's voice. "Telephone." "Thank you," one of them says, giving me an ugly grin. They are gone. Another pig comes in, a black pig in uniform. He comes closer and I see that he is not a cop, but a hospital security guard. He stands not too far from where I'm lying, and I can see he's not at all hostile. His face breaks into a kind of reserved smile, and very discreetly, he clenches his fist and gives me the power sign. That man will never know how much better he made me feel at that moment. The detectives come back with the nurse. They begin to move the stretcher. My mind races. Where are they taking me? The only place I can think of is the operating room. When we arrive at the x-ray room, I'm thankful. Because I have to move around, the x-rays are painful, but the technician is cool. X-rays are over and I'm rolled down the hallway determined to keep my eyes closed. All of a sudden, flashes of light. My eyes pop open. This time, they are taking my picture. The police photographer asks, "Don't you want to give us a smile? Come on, give us a smile." I close my eyes again. We are moving. The stretcher stops. One of the pigs tells the nurse he has a headache. She volunteers to give him something. The stretcher is moving again. Where the hell are they taking me? Again, the light is changing, and although my eyes are closed, I can feel the difference. It feels like I'm in the dark. I can't take it any longer, and I look. The room is dark, but there is some light. My eyes slowly adjust. There's something lying next to me. I can see an outline. Something in plastic. Something my mind slowly realizes that is a man in a plastic bag. And the man name is Zayed. My body stiffens. My mind spins. One of the troopers says, "That's what's going to happen to you before the night is over if you don't tell us what we want to know." I say nothing, but inside, I'm raging. Dogs, swine, filthy pigs, dirty slime scum, bastards, sons of bitches. I rage on, and I wouldn't tell you the right time of day, I remember thinking. I wouldn't tell you that shit stinks. The night crawls along. Nurses, doctors, and troopers. I'm still scared, but I'm just as angry and evil as I am scared. The detectives are in and out, and when nobody is there except them, they get in their digs and bangs. But after a while, I don't think about them too much. I am thinking about living, about surviving, thinking about what is going to happen next. They are going to do what they are going to do, and there isn't much I can do about it. I just have to be myself, stay as strong as I can, and do my best. That's all. There's nowhere to run, and I am in no shape to try. I realize how isolated and vulnerable I am. What if I really do need an operation? I need help from the outside world. I have to try to get word out to someone. The black nurse has been back and forth, asking me the same questions each time I've closed my eyes until she goes away. I decide to ask her to get in touch with my people the next time she comes by. Maybe she will be cool. She is my best shot. The guard is long gone. I doze off for a little while. When I wake up, a nurse and a priest are standing over me. The priest is mumbling and seems to be rubbing something on my forehead. At first, I don't understand what he's doing. Then it dawns on me. Last rites. Last rites are for the dying. Go away, I say out loud. I don't have the strength to say anything else. But I know I don't want anybody's last rites. I'm not going to die, and if I do die, I'm not going to die nobody's hypocrite. The black nurse comes back and starts her questions again. Before she can get started good, I beckon her to come closer. There is no one else around. I ask her to get in touch or to get in contact with my lawyer, who is also my aunt. I give her my name and ask her to make the call herself. She has a hard time understanding me and keeps asking me to repeat my name. I can barely talk, and each time she asks me to repeat myself, I feel like screaming. Then it occurs to me that Assata is foreign to her ears. She has probably never heard the name before, so I give her my slave name. Then I give her the number, and she's off and running. 2 minutes later, the detectives are on me like white on rice. They threaten and plead, reason, and offer me the world. They hurl questions after question at me, acting crazier than before. One plays the nice cop who's trying to save me from the bad cop, if only I will cooperate. I'm tired, and their act is even tireder. I can see exhaustion in their faces. The whole night is coming down on me. Their voices begin to sound far away. I can't take it anymore. They can go to hell. I'm going to sleep. This time, I'm going out for real. When I wake up, the stretcher is moving. After a little while, we arrive at the intensive care part of the hospital. The place is packed with nurses. I'm elated. All I want to do is sleep. So soon I'm drifting off again. I wake up and it's the next day. The doctors are making their rounds. One of them, an intern, I think, is very kind to me. They examine me and spend the rest of the morning doing blood tests, x-rays, EKGs, etc., etc. Soon I learn that they're going to move me again. I also find out that I'm in Middlesex County Hospital. I hear the nurses talking. They are glad I am being moved because the police are driving them crazy. When they come to move me, it looks like a police parade. The rooms I am moved to are called the Johnson Suite. I can't believe it. I have never imagined that hospitals have rooms like this. There is a sitting room, a huge hospital-equipped room where I'm kept, a den, a kitchen, a full bathroom, and another little room whose purpose I will never learn. They transfer me to the bed and handcuff one of my legs to the side rail. I keep looking around. It is elegant and clearly for rich people. I am probably the first Black person who has ever been in this room, and the only reason why I'm there is for security. They have sealed off the doors and no one can enter except through the sitting room next door where 3 state troopers are stationed, 2 regulars and 1 sergeant. The police radio in the room cackles all day long. A carload of suspicious-looking coloreds in a white Ford coupe, a suspicious-looking Negro walking near the hospital in a blue jacket and sneakers. No suspicious-looking white people are reported. From listening to the police talk next door and to the radio, I learned that the hospital is saturated with state troopers. They seem to be under the impression that somebody is going to try and break me out. I feel better. The Demerol has me flying a little and makes it easier for me to lie in the contorted position I'm forced into because of the cuff on my leg. Later that afternoon, it begins again. Detectives and more detectives, questions and more questions. This time, the questions are different. Now, they want to know about the Black Liberation Army. How big is it? What cities is it in? Who is in it? Etc., etc. But the main focus of their questions center around the guy that got away. I'm delighted. I figure that Sandita is somewhere safe by now, cooling off. They are more careful where and how they hit me now. I guess they don't want to leave any marks. One sticks his finger in my eyes. I don't know what he has on his fingertips, but whatever it is burns like hell. I think I'm going to be blind forever. He says he will keep doing it until I'm completely blind. I close my eyes and hold them as tight as I can. He strikes me a few more times. Some of the stuff gets into my eyes anyway. Burning tears pour down my face and my whole head is throbbing. I think he's going to keep going on, but he begins to curse me, calling me all kind of nigger bitches. Finally, he and the others leave. On one of the first days, a white doctor comes to examine me. He acts very nice, sweet as pie. He examines me slowly, the whole time making friendly conversation. I wonder what kind of specialist he is since I haven't seen him before, and I know he isn't one of the regulars. He says he knows how terrible I must feel and makes a big deal of protesting that I am chained to the bed. He keeps on talking and after a while pulls the chair close to the bed. Then he starts to ask friendly little questions. The conversation goes something like this. Those guys on the turnpike are rough. They'll give you a ticket for anything. I take the turnpike every day. You live in Jersey? I live in Newark. You ever been there? You must really be lonely up here. I'll bet you really need someone to talk to. I went to medical school in New York. You're from there, aren't you? I get suspicious and say nothing to him. I tell him I want to go to sleep and he leaves. I never saw him again, but to this day, I'm convinced he was some kind of police or FBI agent. On the third or fourth day, most of my troubles came to an end. Well, not really, but the punch, bang, poke, and prod part of my troubles ended. A nurse with a German accent came to my aid. She was one of the morning nurses, very professional and exacting to the point that she could be a pain in the neck. But she was a lifesaver. It was she who had first protested the tightness of the handcuff on my leg. My leg had begun to swell, and she had insisted they loosen it and that the cuff be covered with gauze. Of course, as soon as she was gone, they tightened it again, but the gauze helped somewhat. I could tell by the little things she said and did that she knew what was going on. One morning she came in as usual, and after she had finished her normal routine, she reached behind the bed, pulled at something, and then handed me an electric call button on a cord. Anytime you need me or need anything from the nurses, just press this button, she said. Don't be afraid to use it. She added, giving me a knowing look. I could have kissed her. Later, when she returned to the room, after the troops realized I had the call button, one came in behind her. Is there any way to disconnect that thing? He asked. She might hurt someone with it or hurt herself. No, she said. There is no way to remove it. If you pull it out, it will just keep ringing in the nurse's station. She's having difficulty breathing and she needs it. Right on, I thought. After that, whenever the police came within 2 feet of my bed, I would push the button. Finally, they gave up the idea of beating on me and contented themselves with threats and other kinds of harassment. A favorite was to stand in the door and point their guns at me. Each day was my last day on earth. Each night was my last night. After a while, I became accustomed, immune. Sometimes they would cock a gun I didn't know was empty, give a long, impassioned speech, then pull the trigger. Other times, I was invited to a game of Russian roulette. They all expressed a bitter hatred for me. They were straight troopers, and I was accused of killing one of them. Every day there were 3 shifts of police. When they changed shifts, the 2 troopers would salute the sergeant. Some saluted an army salute, but others saluted like Nazis did in Germany. They held their hands in front of them and clicked their heels. I couldn't believe it. One day, one of them came in and gave me a speech about how he fought in World War II on the wrong side. He went on, and there was no question that he believed everything he said. He talked about how messed up the world is, how decent people couldn't walk the streets. He said that if Hitler had won, the world wouldn't be in the mess it is in today. That niggers like me, no good niggers, wouldn't be going around shooting New Jersey state troopers. He went on to say that the white race had invented everything because they were smart and worked hard, that other races wanted to riot and use terrorism to take everything the white race had worked so hard to get. I had a hard time keeping my mouth shut. He talked about empires, the Roman, the Greek, the Spanish, the British. He told me white people created empires because they were more civilized than the rest of the world. White people created ballet and opera and symphonies. Did you ever hear of a nigger writing a symphony? He asked. Every day, he gave me a speech about Nazism. Sometimes other Nazis would join in. I asked him if there were a lot of Nazis in the state troopers, but he just laughed and kept on talking. When I was in the Black Panther Party, we used to call the police fascist pigs, but I had called them fascists not because I believed they were Nazis, but because of the way they acted in our communities. As many times as I had referred to police as fascists, these shocked me by the truth of my own rhetoric. I later learned that the state troopers in New Jersey was started by a German, that their uniforms were patterned after some type of German uniform very similar to the uniform South African police wear, that they are notorious for stopping Black, Hispanic, and long-haired people on the turnpike and beating, harassing, and arresting them. The Nazis headed the harassment campaign against me. They spit in my food and turned down the thermostat in the room until it was freezing. For a while, their campaign centered on keeping me from sleeping. They stamped their feet on the floor, sang songs all night, played with their guns, shouted, etc. I told the nurses about it, but it was no use. I could deal with whatever they were putting out, but how long would this go on? I heard nothing from the outside world, and I didn't even know if anybody knew where I was or whether I was dead or alive. My chest was feeling better, but I still could hardly breathe. I thought I was past the point of needing an operation, but I wasn't sure if it was because of the painkillers they had given me or because I was really getting better. Every day I asked them to contact my lawyer, and every day they said they had tried, but there was no answer. I knew that that was a lie because Evelyn had an answering service. Every day I asked them to contact my family. The response to this was usually obscene. Oh, you got a family, do you? Is your mother a nigger whore like you? We don't allow no pickaninnies at this hospital. They went on and on about my family until they found something else to go on and on about. Whoever said that no news is good news had to be out of his mind. Well, there was news, but it wasn't good news. They told me they had arrested Sandita, and at first I didn't believe them, but they were too glib and arrogant. I knew something had happened. We got your friend, they said, and he's singing like a bird. Yeah, he's singing like a bird, and he's giving you all the weight. It's a good thing for you he didn't know what color undies you had on, or he would have told us that. We know where you were coming from. We know where you were going. We know that you stopped at a Howard Johnson. He even told us what you ordered and that you just love potato chips. I thought, how did they know that? Then I remembered that we had bought potato chips at Howard Johnson on the turnpike. Maybe someone had seen me and remembered. Yes, Clark Squire tells us that you took the trooper's gun and shot him in the head. Now, you wouldn't do a thing like that, would you? Well, JoAnne, you're in a hell of a fix. If I were you, I wouldn't let him get away with it. It's a low down thing to do, giving all the weight to a woman. I'll make a deal with you. You tell us everything that happened, and I promise we'll go light on you. I just don't like to see you get a bad break, that's all. You know, you're facing a lot of time in prison. The way things stand, if he testifies against you. You could get life in prison or even the chair, but all you have to do is tell us what happened, and we'll see to it that you do just a couple years and go home. You're young. You don't want to rot away your whole life in prison, do you? Maybe you think you owe something to them. You think he's thinking about the cause now? No, he's singing his head off, trying to give you all the weight. They're all the same. They talk all this shit about Black people, equal rights, civil rights, but when it comes down to the wire, all they care about is their side. He's thinking about his hide, and you better think about yours. You think the cause gives a damn about you? Your own people don't give a damn about you. To them, you're just a common criminal. Now, I'm giving you this one chance to save yourself and come clean. If you don't take it, you're a fool. They really did think Black people were stupid. Their line had to be the oldest in the book. He was sitting there like he just knew his corny little speech had done the trick. I said nothing. If you don't say anything to them, they have nothing to turn around and use against you. Divide and conquer has always been their motto. When they realized I wasn't going to talk, they began to leave. Then one came back. "Oh," he said, "I almost forgot to read you your rights." He pulled out this little red card and read from it. "You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to, etc. I wouldn't want you to say that we didn't read you your rights." Thursday afternoon. They're letting me make a phone call. I don't believe it. I call my aunt. She's not in. The answering service answers. I don't know who else to call. The only lawyers whose names I know worked on the Panther 21 trial. I call them at random. No one is in, but secretaries promise to give them messages. I'm disappointed, but I feel a lot better. Things are looking up. It is Friday. From the activity in the room next door, I can tell something is up. Voices and whispers. They are back and forth, in and out, arranging this, moving that. The police radio is jumping. What's happening? Whatever it is, it can't be too bad, I think. They are leaving me alone. In a little while, a policewoman comes in. She's in a brown uniform and her insignia says Sheriff's Department. She's black or Hispanic, I can't tell exactly, except that she isn't white. Then some more police come in, dressed in uniforms similar to hers, then more police. They are state troopers. One of them moves to the door and stands at attention. Then some men in suits come in. Then a man comes in with a stenographic machine. The Honorable Joseph F. Bradshaw, State of New Jersey, County of Middlesex, all rise. Then this judge walks in with the black robe on. One of the men in a suit reads the charges against me. We are here today to serve complaints upon you for the matters arising out of the shooting of May 2nd of 1973. I will read you the complaints, leave copies with you of the charges that will be pending against you. The judge will then advise you on the arraignment of such rights you may have. You are charged under complaint number 119977 by Detective Toronto, New Jersey State Police, who says on the 2nd of May, 1973, within the confines of the township of East Brunswick, County of Middlesex, that you unlawfully and illegally resisted a lawful arrest being made by New Jersey State Trooper James Harper by discharging a dangerous pistol and wounding the said James Harper and fleeing the scene of the incident, all in violation of NJS 2A 85-1. You are also charged under complaint number S119979 by Detective Sergeant Toronto of the New Jersey State Police, who says that on the 2nd of May, 1973, within the township of East Brunswick, County of Middlesex, that you did commit an atrocious assault and battery upon New Jersey State Trooper James Harper by shooting, wounding, and maiming the said James Harper with a handgun, then and there discharged by the defendant, all in violation of NJS 2A 90-1. In the second count, you are charged by the said officer who says that defendant JoAnne Chesimard, sorry, I mispronounced her slave name wrong. Chesimard did on the aforementioned date and place unlawfully and illegally assault the said James Harper with intent to kill, murder, and slay him by use of a handgun then and there held by the defendant, all in violation of NJS 2A 90-2. It further charges in the third count that the aforementioned defendant did at the above-mentioned time and place commit an unlawful and illegal assault and battery on a law enforcement officer, to wit, one James Harper, a duly sworn trooper of the New Jersey State Police, by discharging a firearm and wounding the said James Harper, all in violation of NJS 2A 90-4. In S119980, you are charged with illegally and unlawfully committing the crime of murder by willfully and with malice, aforethought shooting, killing, and slaying New Jersey State Trooper Werner Forrester, all in violation of NJS 2A 113-1 and NJS 2A 85-14. You are further being charged under S119981 with one count, wherein Detective Sergeant Toronto charges you on the 2nd of May, 1973, with the township of East Brunswick, County of Middlesex, that you did unlawfully, illegally, and with malice, aforethought cause or effect the murder of James Costin, aka Zaid Shakur, while resisting or avoiding a lawful arrest then and there, being affected by New Jersey State Troopers James Harper, all in violation of NJS 2A 113-2. You are charged with S119982 by State Police Sergeant Louis Taranto that on the 2nd day of May, 1973, in the township of East Brunswick, County of Middlesex, you are unlawfully and illegally possessed on your person, under your custody and control, an illegal weapon, to wit, one Brownie 9mm automatic pistol, one Brownie automatic 380 caliber, and 138 caliber Lama automatic pistol, serial number 24831, all without having obtained any necessary permit for the carrying of same in violation of NJS 2A 151-41A. You are further charged in complaint S119983, wherein Detective Sergeant Taranto, I'm not pronouncing that pig's name right, says on the 2nd day of May 1973 in the township of East Brunswick, County of Middlesex, that you did unlawfully and illegally and forcibly take from the person of New Jersey State Trooper Warren Forrester a 38 caliber revolver by violence, to wit, by shooting, slaying, and killing the same Warren Forrester, all in violation of NJS 2A 141-1. The second count of that complaint charges you with committing that act while being armed in violation of NJS 2A 151-5. You are being charged by State Trooper Detective Sergeant Taranto, complaint S119984, who says on the 2nd day of May 1973 in the township of East Brunswick, County Middlesex, that you did illegally, unlawfully conspire with James Costin, aka Zaid Shakur, and one John Doe to commit the crime of murder of the said Trooper Warner Forrester, and in the effectuation of said conspiracy did execute the following overt acts. 1. That the said defendant JoAnne Deborah Chesimard did have in her possession a pistol with which to effectuate the ends of the conspiracy on the above mission time and at the above mission place. 2. The above-named defendant, JoAnne Deborah Chesimard, in concert with and by common scheme and plan, did assault Trooper James Harper and otherwise discharge her weapon at the said Trooper James Harper with the intent to effect the ends of the conspiracy by otherwise wounding, maiming, or killing him, all in violation of NJS 2A 98-1 and NJS 2A 113-1. I think he will never stop. Half of the charges I don't even understand. I interrupt the proceedings. I don't have a lawyer here, I protest. I would like to have a lawyer present. They ignore me and keep on reading. How do you plead? They ask me. I would like to have a lawyer present. Don't I have a right to a lawyer? That will not be necessary, the judge says coldly. Enter a plea of not guilty for the defendant. And just as quickly as they entered, the procession departs. Later, the same policewoman comes back. She stands rigidly against the wall. Her face is a mask. Oh no, I think. Court again? What are they going to do? Railroad me here and now? I imagine myself being tried right there in the bed with no lawyer. The door opens. It is Evelyn, my lawyer and aunt. She is the most beautiful sight in the world. She embraces me and sits down next to me. As usual, she is business first. Only have 5 minutes, she tells me. They told me that I couldn't see you. I had to go to court and get a court order to see you. The judge would give us only 5 minutes apiece. Your mother and sister are outside, so talk fast. We look up. The police are practically standing in our mouths. I would like to talk with my client in private, Evelyn says. Would you please move back? This is an outrage. This is an attorney-client visit, and we have a constitutional right to privacy. The police move back 1 inch. I tell Evelyn about the kangaroo court in the morning. My mouth moves so fast, it's like one of those old-style movies, but a talkie. I can see from the expression on her face that I must look horrible. How are they treating you? She asks. I don't have time to tell her the whole story, but I have to let her know what's going on. I don't know what they'll do next. I have to try to get someone to put pressure on them to stop. I tell her some of it, but I just can't tell her the worst things. Her face looks so pitiful, and every time I tell her something else, her hands shake. Try to do what you can, I say. Time's up, miss. Evelyn makes her futile protest. I need to talk with my client. This is just not enough time. Sorry, miss, time's up, Demu told her like they are going to beat her up. Then she's gone. I brace myself for my mother and my sister. It's been such a long time since I've seen them. I don't know what to expect. My mother comes in. She looks worried but strong. She kisses me. I'm proud of you, she says. The words spin around me, weaving a warm blanket of love, and I'm so happy. I can hardly contain myself. My mother is proud of me. She loves me, and she's proud of me. Too soon the time with my mother is up. My sister comes in. She has her hair wrapped in a turban, and she looks so pale. As soon as she sees me, she breaks out crying. Tears stream down her already puffy face, and I can tell she's been crying a lot. I love you, she says simply. We don't do a lot of talking, but I feel so very close to her during those few minutes. Time's up, again, and then she's gone. I lie there full of emotion. All of this is so hard on my family. They look vulnerable and shaken. This is maybe harder on them than it is on me. I wish there was something I can do to make them happy. 2 Black nurses were very kind to me. When they were on duty, they would go out of their way to make sure I was all right. They made frequent trips to my room, for which I was especially grateful during those first days. If you need anything, just ring, they said knowingly. One night, one of the nurses came in and gave me 3 books. I hadn't even thought about reading. The books were a godsend. They had been carefully selected. One was a bunch of Black poetry, one was a book called Black Women in White America, and the third was a novel, Siddhartha, by Hermann Hesse. Whenever I tired of the verbal abuse of my captors, I would drown them out by reading the poetry aloud. Invictus and If We Must Die were the poems I usually read. I read them over and over until I was sure the guards had heard every word. The poems were my message to them. When I read the book about Black women, I felt the spirits of those sisters feeding me, making me stronger. Black women have been struggling and helping each other to survive the blows of life since the beginning of time. And when I read Siddhartha, a peace came over me. I felt a unity with all things living. The world, in spite of oppression, is a beautiful place. I would say softly to myself, letting my lips vibrate. I felt the birds, the sun, and the trees. I was in communion with all the forces on the earth that truly love people, and in communion with all the revolutionary forces on the earth. I was definitely getting better. They were even unchaining me so that I could hobble to the bathroom every now and then. With the help of the nurse, I was still weak, and when I returned from the bathroom, I would flop on the bed as if I had just accomplished a great physical feat. But at least now I knew what was wrong with me. During those first days, I could barely ask, and when I did, they acted as if my condition was some top secret information I was not privy to. I had 3 bullet holes. There was a bullet in my chest, it's still there, an injured lung with fluid in it, a broken clavicle, and a paralyzed arm with undetermined damage to the nerves. I kept asking if I would be able to use my hand again. 1 or 2 doctors said flatly, no. The others said, maybe yes, maybe no. Anyway, I was going to live. Story. You died, I cried, and kept on getting up, a little slower and a lot more deadly. And that's the end of chapter 1. I don't think this space is recorded. So I don't know why it's not recording these spaces, but I'll go ahead and end it here with chapter 1. And if it did record, I'll probably open up another space so I can get chapter 2 and 3 knocked out tonight. So hope y'all enjoyed it. And like always, let's get free.